Watch the one who's talking to you when the door opens behind your shoulder. Every other pair of eyes in the room flicks to it. There's never leave your face. You've stood inside this. For 90 seconds you were the only person alive in the building, and you felt yourself grow about a foot taller. Then, later, you watched them do it to somebody else. The same lean, the same still eyes, the same person becoming the only one alive. Identical. And something in your chest dropped, because you understood the attention had never been aimed at you. It had just been aimed. So tonight we put that feeling on the table and cut it open. Why one steady beam feels like being chosen, and what the steadiness is quietly covering. By the end you'll be able to sit inside that beam, enjoy it and still read the dial. Let's begin. First, the mechanism. Set the warm one aside for a moment. What is everyone else's attention actually doing while they talk to you? It's moving. Always moving. A searchlight that never once stops sweeping the room. Checks the door. It checks the phone lying face down on the table. It checks who just walked in and whether they outrank you. You have never once had a person's whole attention. Not a parent's, not a friend's. Everyone keeps a sliver of the beam on the exits. You stopped noticing because it's the water you were raised in. A face that's half somewhere else is simply what a face looks like. So you built a scale out of the fractions. This much beam means normal. A little more means they like me. You measured your whole life in slivers. Now someone deletes the sweep. The beam swings onto you once and simply stops moving. And your scale has no line for it. The whole beam, held still, reads clean off the top of the gauge. So the room does what it always does with an off-scale reading. It fills the blank with the biggest word it owns. Chosen. Seen. Finally understood. First finding. The feeling was never extra attention. It was the removal of a division you had long ago stopped being able to feel. You didn't get more than other people give. You got the whole of a thing you'd only ever been handed in pieces. Second cut. If it's the whole beam that moved you, then strictly it was never about you. It was about the contrast. You aren't measuring their attention. You're measuring it against everyone else's half. The reading only exists next to the darker ones. Put that same person in a room where everyone gives full attention, and the spell evaporates. The steady beam stops being rare. Which is why it lands hardest when you're most starved. Tired, lonely, standing in a loud room where nobody has really looked at you all night. Charisma, on this table, is not a light that somebody shines on you. It is the darkness everyone else had already left you standing in. Now the uncomfortable part. That sweep, the one everyone runs, can be switched off on purpose. Clamped still by hand. A person genuinely lost in you, and a person holding their eyes still on purpose, take the exact same photograph. There is no frame in it where you can tell. Second finding. You cannot measure attention. You can only ever measure its steadiness. And steadiness, unlike feeling, can be trained. So what does a held beam look like? Taken apart on the table? For moves. And all four are the same move. Part 1. The eyes that don't leave. The door opens behind you, every other head in the room turns, and there simply doesn't. That withheld glance is most of the entire effect. They didn't add any warmth. They subtracted the flick to the door. Part 2. The sealed body. They turn their back on the rest of the room and build a low wall out of their shoulders with you inside it. Now there's no room left in your eye line. Just them and the wall of their back and you. Everyone else has to knock to get in. Part 3. The killed interruption. Someone steps up to pull them away, and they raise one finger to the newcomer and finish your sentence first. You have never once in your life been chosen over an interruption. It lands like a small vow. Part 4. The dwell. Half a second longer on your face after you stop talking, before they answer, as if the words had to land somewhere first. That half second tells you the words went in and mattered, whether or not they actually did. For parts 1 instruction. Delete every signal that anyone else in the room exists. Now flip the specimen over. None of this requires that they feel a single thing. It only requires stillness held on purpose. Now the ethics said plainly and out loud. This is a map for reading who is actually present with you. It is not a script for aiming a warmth you don't feel. Aiming a beam you don't mean is the oldest con on this table. If you take one thing tonight, take the reading, not the trick. So how do you tell a real beam from an aimed one? For tells, and they fall straight out of the mechanism. Tell one. Go boring. Say something slow and ordinary and unglamorous. And watch. Real presence stays. The held beam slackens the instant you stop lighting up. Watch the eyes on your dull sentence. The real ones rest easy on you. The aimed ones start very slightly to drift, then catch themselves and snap back. Tell 2. The interruption for real. Let someone genuinely need them. True presence lets go gracefully and comes back to you. The held beam treats the pull as a threat and quietly resents it. Tell 3. The next person. You don't have to do anything for this one. Just stay long enough to watch them turn to somebody else. If the identical beam lands on the next face exactly as it landed on yours, it was a setting, not a response to you. This is the cruel tell because you have to survive watching it. Tell 4, and it's the one they cannot beat. Memory. Real attention writes something down. Ask them next week about the small, unimportant thing you said. The held beam recorded nothing. It was bright and pointed, and there was no film in the camera. You can hold your eyes still for one evening. You cannot fake having actually listened a week later. That's the floor the trick can't reach. Here's what the counterfeit costs you. You feel enormous for an hour. Then you watch the beam swing onto the next face, and you decide you must have been nothing. You weren't nothing. You were standing in front of a setting that was never set for you in particular. And the crash afterward isn't proof you were fooled. It's a reading of how starved you already were when you walked in. Last cut. What are you actually supposed to do with this out in a real room next week? Not this. Don't start holding your own eyes on people to seem warm. You'll be found the first week you forget one thing they told you. And not the other reflex either. Deciding everyone is faking and refusing to be moved by anyone. That just bricks you back into the dark you were already standing in. Do this instead. Next time someone makes you the only person in the room, let yourself feel it fully. Then look, just once, at their eyes the moment the door opens. If the flick comes and they haul it straight back to you, that's a person choosing you in real time. That's the real thing, and it is far rarer than the luck. And notice who never quite makes you feel like the only one. Often it isn't because they don't care. It's because their beam is honest, and honest light wanders. Then the part about you, because you already own this instrument. You run the lock yourself. On the ones you're selling to, interviewing with, trying not to lose. You've squared your shoulders, held the glance, killed the interruption, and made a stranger feel like the only person alive while feeling almost nothing yourself. So you already know the beam can be hollow, because you have sent it out hollow and watched it land. That's tonight's finding. The only person in the room feeling is not a measure of how much they see you. It's a measure of how little anyone else ever did. And the reason it works on you every single time is that you scan too. You keep a sliver of your own beam on the exits with everyone you have ever loved. You've never handed the whole thing over either. So when it finally lands on you and holds still, of course you would give anything to keep it. Now you can sit in the beam and read the dial at the same time. Same table next week.